The voice note keeps playing through my phone's speaker, while my hands shake so hard I almost drop it. I know she's starting to remember things, my mother whispers. Then another voice answers. My voice. Not similar. Not close. Exactly mine. She can't find out what happened in Phoenix, the other me says calmly. If she remembers that night, everything falls apart. I stop breathing. I never recorded this. I never said those words. My mom laughs nervously in the recording. You promised me she'd never know. Then the fake version of me replies with something that makes my stomach twist. She was never supposed to come home. The audio cuts off. Right as I hear my bedroom door slowly creak open behind me. My name is Madison Reyes. I'm 24 years old, and I'm telling this because some lies don't stay buried forever. I grew up in a quiet neighborhood outside Phoenix. Nothing exciting ever happened there. My mom worked at a dental office. I worked remotely doing graphic design for small brands online. We looked normal from the outside. But after my father disappeared 3 years ago, everything changed. Mom stopped sleeping. She locked doors during the daytime. And every time I asked about Dad, she gave the same answer. He left because he wanted a different life. I tried to believe her. I really did. But something always felt wrong. Then 6 months ago, I started noticing strange things. My laptop camera would randomly turn on. I'd find clothes in my closet I never bought. People I didn't know would smile at me in public like we had met before. One barista even said, "Back again already." I had never been there in my life. At first, I thought stress was messing with my head. Then I started hearing stories about myself. A girl who looked exactly like me screaming at a gas station. A girl who used my name at a hotel downtown. A girl caught on someone's TikTok live, walking through an airport in Nevada. Every sighting happened while I was somewhere else. I told my best friend, Zoe Harper, about it while we sat in her apartment eating takeout noodles. That's creepy, she said quietly. You think someone, pretending to be me. Zoe looked uncomfortable. Madison, what if it's not pretending? I laughed because the idea sounded insane. But she didn't laugh back. That night, I couldn't sleep. At 2:13 a.m., I heard Mom talking downstairs. I walked quietly to the kitchen. She was sitting alone in the dark, smiling at her phone. Then she said my name. Not like a mother. Like someone reporting information. She's getting suspicious. I froze near the hallway. A few seconds later, she looked up and saw me. Her face lost all color. Why are you awake? She snapped. I had never heard fear in her voice before. The next morning, she acted normal again, too normal. She made pancakes, asked about work, talked about weather. But I noticed her phone sitting beside her purse. Unlocked. That was when I found the voice note. The one with my voice. The one that should not exist. After hearing it, I rushed upstairs and locked my bedroom door. I replayed it 12 times. Every word sounded real. Every breath. Every pause. It sounded more like me than recordings from my own phone. Then I noticed something else. In the background of the audio, faint but clear, was airport noise. A boarding announcement. I increased the volume. Flight 28 now departing to Dallas. Dallas. The same city where my father's credit card had supposedly been used after he vanished. That was the moment I realized something terrifying. My mother knew exactly what happened to my dad. And somehow, someone out there was pretending to be me. I didn't confront my mother. Not yet. People make mistakes when they think you know less than you actually do. So I pretended everything was normal. I smiled at breakfast. I asked her if she wanted coffee. I even sat beside her on the couch that night while she watched some crime documentary like nothing had changed. Meanwhile, my mind was falling apart. The next morning, I drove to Zoe Harper's apartment in Tempe with the voice note playing through my car speakers again and again. Zoe listened without interrupting. When it ended, she slowly lowered the phone. That's your voice, she whispered. I know. No, she said, staring at me carefully. I mean exactly your voice. I rubbed my hands together nervously. So what do I do? Zoe stayed quiet for a moment before asking, do you remember everything from 3 years ago? What's that supposed to mean? The week your dad disappeared. My stomach tightened. I remembered pieces. A road trip to Nevada. A fight in a motel hallway. A terrible headache after drinking orange juice my mother handed me. Then, almost nothing. Like someone had erased part of my brain. Zoe looked pale. Madison, you vanished for almost 2 days during that trip. What? You called me crying from a blocked number. You said someone was following you. I stared at her. I never told you that. You acted like it never happened afterward. My chest felt heavy. That night, Zoe helped me do something I never imagined doing. We broke into my mother's old storage unit. The place smelled like dust and metal. Rows of forgotten boxes covered the walls. At first, it looked useless. Christmas decorations. Old clothes. My childhood drawings. Then Zoe found a locked gray case hidden behind furniture. Madison. Inside was a stack of documents. Medical forms. Photographs. And 2 birth certificates. Both had my birthday. Both had my mother's name. But the second one belonged to a girl named Morgan Reyes. I felt cold all over. The photo clipped to the file made my knees almost give out. It was me. Or someone who looked exactly like me. Same eyes. Same freckles. Same dark hair. But under the image, typed in black letters, were words I'll never forget. Subject B, successful match. What the hell is this? Zoe whispered. I kept flipping through the papers. There were hospital records from a private research company in Dallas. Large payments made to my mother. Signed agreements. Then I found the final page. A handwritten note from my father. If you're reading this, one of them already knows the truth. My breathing became uneven. One of them. Not one of us. One of them. Suddenly, Zoe grabbed my arm hard. Someone outside. Footsteps echoed beyond the storage door. Slow. Careful. Watching. I quickly shut the case while the footsteps stopped completely. Silence. Then a woman's voice came from outside. My voice. Madison, she called softly. I know you're in there. Zoe's face drained of color. Because the person outside didn't just sound like me. She sounded calmer. Smarter. Like she had been expecting this moment for years. And then she said something that made my entire body freeze. Dad told me you'd eventually find the files. Zoe grabbed a metal flashlight from the shelf beside her and whispered, we need to leave, right now. But I couldn't move. I kept staring at the storage door while my own voice echoed in my head. Dad told me you'd eventually find the files. The woman outside knocked softly. Not angry. Not threatening. Almost patient. Madison, she said again, you don't understand what your mother did. My heart slammed against my ribs. I forced myself closer to the door. Who are you? A short silence followed. Then, my name is Morgan Reyes. The name from the birth certificate. Zoe mouthed, don't open it. But I already needed answers more than safety. I unlocked the door slowly. The woman standing outside looked so much like me, it almost made me sick. Same height. Same eyes. Even the same nervous habit of pulling at her sleeve. But while I looked exhausted and confused, she looked focused. Prepared. Like she had been waiting years for this conversation. You're not real, I whispered. Her expression darkened. That's exactly what Mom wanted me to believe too. Mom. Not your mom. Mom. Before I could respond, headlights suddenly flashed across the parking lot outside the storage building. Morgan's face changed instantly. We need to go, she said sharply. Why? Because she tracked your phone. A black SUV turned into the lot. Then another behind it. Zoe cursed under her breath. Morgan grabbed my wrist and pulled me through the back exit of the building before I could argue. We ran into the alley behind the storage units, while car doors slammed open behind us. "Who are those people?" I shouted. "The company from Dallas." I almost stopped running. "The research company. They don't call themselves that anymore." Morgan led us into an old laundromat 2 streets away. The place was nearly empty, except for an old man asleep beside a vending machine. She finally let go of my arm. "You deserve the truth," she said. I crossed my arms tightly, "Then start talking." Morgan looked directly at me. "We're not twins." Every sound around me disappeared. "She volunteered for an experiment after Dad lost his business," Morgan continued quietly. "A private biotech company offered money. They were developing human identity replication." Zoe blinked. "Identity replication." "They copied genetics, voices, facial structure, behavior patterns." Morgan looked at me sadly. "I was the first success." I felt dizzy. "No," I whispered. "You were raised as the real daughter. I was raised inside the program." The room spun around me. I remembered strange hospital visits as a child. Memory tests. Needles. Questions about dreams. Morgan reached into her bag and handed me a photo. It showed my father holding both of us as children. Same age. Same face. Same smile. "He tried to expose the company," Morgan said. "That's why he disappeared." My hands trembled. "So Mom lied to both of us." Morgan nodded slowly. "She thought protecting you meant sacrificing me." Before I could answer, the laundromat television suddenly switched channels by itself. Static filled the screen. Then security camera footage appeared. Live footage of my mother standing outside my house, looking directly into the camera. Then she spoke. "Madison, if you're watching this, listen carefully." Her eyes looked terrified. "They found your father." The screen flickered. And behind her, reflected faintly in the dark window of the house, stood 3 men slowly walking toward her. I whispered. The screen glitched again. One of the men behind her reached for the front gate. Then the live stream suddenly cut to black. Zoe stood up so fast her chair slammed backward. "We have to call the police." Morgan shook her head immediately. "By the time they arrive, those men will already be gone." I stared at her. "You know them." "I escaped from them." That sentence hit me harder than anything else that night. Escaped. Not quit. Not left. Escaped. Morgan grabbed her backpack and pulled out a small silver flash drive. "This is what Dad died trying to protect." My chest tightened at the way she said it. Not disappeared, not missing. She already knew. "He collected proof," she continued. "Illegal testing, fake identities, financial records, everything." Zoe looked horrified. "Then why didn't he go public?" "Because they threatened Mom." Morgan's voice cracked slightly for the first time. "And because of us." Outside, thunder rolled across the city. The laundromat lights flickered. I finally asked the question that had been burning inside me all night. "Why did Mom choose me?" Morgan looked down quietly. "She didn't." I froze. "She tried to save both of us," Morgan said. "But the company only allowed one child to leave the program permanently. Dad took you and ran. Mom stayed behind with me for almost 2 years trying to get me out too." None of this felt real anymore. Every memory of my childhood suddenly felt fake. Every birthday. Every family photo. Every story. Then Morgan handed me another photograph. This one was newer. My mother sitting beside my father at a cafe in Dallas only 3 months earlier. Alive. I almost stopped breathing. "He's alive." Morgan nodded slowly. "He's hiding." My legs nearly gave out from relief and anger at the same time. "He let Mom tell me he abandoned us. He thought distance kept you safe." I laughed bitterly. "Great plan." A sudden loud buzz interrupted us. Morgan's phone. One message appeared on the screen. "We found her." Morgan immediately looked toward the laundromat windows. A black SUV rolled slowly past the building. Then another. Zoe whispered, "They tracked us again." Morgan grabbed my hand tightly. This is your choice now. Run and disappear or expose everything. For the first time in my life, fear turned into anger. I was tired of being confused. Tired of lies. Tired of other people deciding who I was. I took the flash drive from Morgan's hand. Let's finish this. 3 days later, every major news station in America received copies of the files. Secret recordings, research documents, videos of illegal human testing. The company collapsed within weeks. Executives vanished before investigators reached them, but the story exploded online faster than they could control it. My mother entered protective custody. Zoe stayed beside me through everything. And 2 months later, I finally saw my father again in a small diner outside Denver. He looked older, tired, ashamed, but alive. When he hugged me, neither of us spoke for almost a full minute. Because after years of lies, there was only one truth left that mattered. I wasn't crazy. I was never imagining things. And somewhere out there in America, people connected to that program were still missing. Sometimes late at night, I still get unknown voice messages from blocked numbers. Most are just silence. But last week, one finally said something. A young woman's voice. My voice again. Crying softly. Madison, there are more of us.